In today's episode, we'll be taking a look at the olm. Though this may look like a species of worm or a messed up snake, it's actually a species of salamander. Interestingly, in the 1600s, when they were first discovered, they were thought to be the offspring of dragons.
Welcome to episode 263 of the Wilderness Podcast. I'm Dills, and with me, as always, is Trey. Hi, Trey.
Hello.
Okay, we've been doing the PVM Smash or Pass, where we're going through every single boss in RuneScape and talking about whether or not we would smash or pass with a Dragon Warhammer. And yeah, so far we've gone through almost basically half the bosses. We're 25 bosses in. We've gone through some of the foundational bosses like Calfight Queen, King Black Dragon. We talked about Jad. We talked about the DKs, Giant Mole. We talked about God Wars and the Wilderness bosses. And then we've also talked about some of the initial Slayer bosses that got released, which are pretty cool as well. And we ended last week on our first free-to-play boss. Always exciting. Obor, the big hill giant himself. But yeah, this week we are starting off with this is a huge one. Chambers of Xeric is the first PVM Smash or Pass that we're going to be going through. So we're going to talk about each of the bosses in it, and then talk about Olm, and we'll grade it we'll grade each boss, I guess, individually, and then maybe as a whole, because the raids itself is it's a whole experience. So that's pretty cool stuff. But Trey, before we get into all that fun stuff, how's the Iron been treating you? What's up? What you doing?
Oh, it's been good. Right now I'm part of the TNL Bingo, so that's the clan associated with the XP Waste podcast.
Those are our arch rivals.
Yes, of course. And yeah, we've been having a good time. So right now, my goals of this episode, as far as will be probably super changed by next episode, but the 3 goals on my account right now I have is the Venator Bow, the Diary Cape, and wow, I just completely spaced on what the third one was, but I'll think about while I'm talking. But yeah, so I love the Diary Cape. It's just given me a lot of motivation to go skilling.
Diaries are cool. We gotta do an episode all about the diaries later, because for one, I constantly forget what the rewards are from each diary. There's so many of them at this point, but they've got so many rewards are behind the diaries. So you get to a point where you're like, I have to work on these now.
Oh yeah. The cape itself at the end of it all there's some really lackluster elites, but they're still worth it for the cape at the end of it. So that's what's been kind of pushing me towards that. But yeah, so it's basically been skilling or Muspa has been kind of what I've been doing, because I really want a Venator Bow and Muspa is just not giving it up. I'm at around 350 KC now, and I only have 1 shard, which isn't great. It's not the worst I've seen, but it still isn't great.
So why do you want the Venator Bow? It's such a weird item. We should talk about it for a second, because it's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, you know what? I think you might be rubbing off on me, because it just sounds fun.
It does sound fun. You do a multi-shot when you shoot it. How does it work? It hits the 2 closest enemies or something?
I think so. It bounces around, and yeah, you can hit multiple enemies. It's basically, the primary use of it is to replace barraging for Slayer, which is kind of my entire intention with it, because I hate barraging for Slayer. So, and the other big part of it is, that was part 3. See, I knew I'd come to it eventually. Part 3 of my goals is the Void Waker. And so those all tie in together, because I want to do the entire Void Waker grind on task, Wilderness Slayer tasks. And I don't like barraging, and I also don't like taking a bunch of blood runes into the wilderness. And there's a lot of barrage tasks in Wilderness Slayer. So I feel like a Venator Bow would be really great, because all I'm risking is some arrows, and I've got basically unlimited supply of arrows, both from fletching and from Corrupted Gauntlet. And so yeah, for all of those jellies tasks in the wilderness, just put on some Black Dragon hide and a Venator Bow. And it sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome.
So that is kind of my biggest motivation is so I don't have to do barraging tasks that I don't enjoy. And maybe a little absence makes the heart fonder. So maybe if I do avoid them for long enough, then I can get to a point where I actually enjoy barraging tasks in. But I have 99 magic, so it is fantastic XP, and I will always do a barrage task if I'm pre 99.
I don't know. I feel like I don't see the Venator Bow too often. And And we can't forget how cool it looks just to like walk around with it.
I know.
The way you hold it.
I would love, once again, another big quality of life update that can replace sailing is a just full rework of how you look when you're wielding items. Because they've been doing that. They've been having like the shadow or like now the Elder Maul. The Elder Maul is one of my favorites. But yeah, if they wanted to add unique casting animations, shooting animations, and just wielding animations for everything in the game,
good.
I would support that use of dev time.
Yeah, same. Like I was thinking about that when I was cleaning some herbs, because you get the grimy herbs, you clean them, but it'd be cool if you had a little animation to go along with it. I don't know what it would be, but right now you're just still. But I like when you look at a bank and you see all these people doing different magic spells, and they're doing different bankable skilling, like fletching or crafting, and you can usually see them doing some sort of animation so you can know what they're doing. So yeah, any more unique ones I'm super into.
But in the same breath, I think one of the biggest turnoffs for me, like my like leaving RS3 wasn't necessarily like evolution of combat and stuff. It was a lot more related to just this general feeling of like, this isn't the same game anymore. And I think a big part of that was like they changed a lot of animations for stuff that, you know, like the classics, like mining and wood cutting and stuff. Like I'll never forget being like a kid and on the RuneScape forums, somebody saying like, I hate Jagex because I just got 99 wood cutting and my axe never actually touched the tree. The charming jank of RuneScape in general, like, oh, we're going to change the wood cutting animation so it actually looks like you're cutting a tree down and stuff like that. So I think my perfect solution for that would be what they did with like High Alchemy, where you can unlock a different animation for it, but you can still choose to have the classic one.
I like that.
But sorry, we got completely side railed there. But I did. Okay, so I said I messed up in my own goals. I said, okay, so not Void Waker, Venator Bow, Diary Cape, and the third one was not Void Waker. It was Dex.
Oh, okay, Chambers was. Hey, we're talking about Chambers today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I've been infected by this obsession with the Dex for the same reason that anybody else does. It's very good. And I think probably like a lot of people recently, I got the Royal Titans prayer scrolls and I thought like, okay, that's good. Like that's good enough. We're good to go. And then sending if anybody has done Bofa only Muspa, you know how much time there is where you're just sitting there waiting for on the melee phase while your Bofa hits zeros. So your mind starts to wander and you start to ask, how can I make this not so annoying? And yeah, a Dex so I guess just to clarify, the Dexter's Prayer Scroll from Chambers of Xeric unlocks the Rigor Prayer, which is the best in slot ranged offensive prayer. And it's a huge buff. Even with I think the Royal Titans Prayer Scroll was supposed to like be a perfect middle ground. And I think probably rightfully so. It's maybe like 2/5 of the way towards what Rigor is. And so, yeah, it's still a great upgrade from Eagle Eye. But the Rigor is still a huge upgrade. So those three things. So I've been learning Chambers with some friends. I've been trying to run them when I can. It's one of those pieces of content, just like Tob, where you have to have a group. I'm not really interested in learning solos yet. So it's not, that's my favorite thing about Tombs of Amaska is nobody's on. All right, I'll just run it solo. But you know, Chambers, I'm not there yet. So it's just me being like, oh, somebody please take me. And obviously I'm not experienced. I don't have a good melee weapon. So it's like, please, somebody.
Do you ever think about using like We Do raids or anything?
So funny thing about that is I was running some Chambers with one of our other clanmates and we wanted a third person. So they picked someone up from We Do raids and they immediately were like, hey man, like I'm cool, but just so you know, he's supposed to have a tent whip and 25 KC before I'll run with him. Which was funny because I do have a tent whip. I just didn't have it equipped. And I had like 20 KC. But so yeah, they have a reputation. But I've also heard other people say that they have never had problems with them. So I haven't really looked into it, but we have enough good people in the clan. I'm going to try to just take them when they're available and do other stuff when they're not.
Cool. And yeah, maybe we'll talk about some of the different ways, I guess, to run Chambers, because it's definitely changed since I first started doing it. But if you really wanted to solo, there are ways to solo. They're not it's not really meant to be soloed, but like, yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, Chambers is great. It's a lot of fun. The decks, by the way, 7 mil. If you don't have a dex yet and you can afford 7 mil, it's probably worth it. I remember spending like 80 mil on the decks. And even then people were like, it's worth it. Like that was considered cheap for how good the Rigger's Prayer was. Yeah. So 7 mils is such a great deal.
I think probably the biggest disparity between Iron Man and mains when it comes to PVM are the kind of easy drops from raids, the easy purples. So a Fang, a Lightbearer, a Dex, an Arcane, and even an Avernic are things that their GE price, because people who are going for mega rares get a ton of those along the way, and their price is driven down. But that does not take away from the fact that everything I just mentioned is an extremely powerful item that you can get for a price well below what it's worth to you. So if you're a main, buy every single one of those items and sell. There's a lot of things that people will go for that you should sell if you don't have those. Even I would say sell an Anguish to get a Dex if you don't have, if that's your only option, stuff like that. That's super good. Like a Dex is probably the biggest upgrade you can make for your account for the price that it is.
I think I remember selling a Dragon Warhammer for one.
Yeah.
And at the time, the Dragon Warhammer was like 50 mil. So prices are all over the place these days. But yeah. And this was, the Dragon Warhammer was like king back then. But yeah, cool stuff. Very cool stuff.
That's kind of the overview. I got to do a big thieving grind. And I'm almost there with fletching. So yeah, I think thieving is pretty much the only skilling I have left to get my diary cape. And then I just got to knock out some stuff. I had a very rude awakening when I found out that I need a full Barrows set for the Mauritania diary. I did not remember that being on. So got to go back to Barrows. But yeah, other than that, just sending Muspa when I can, and Chambers if anybody's on that wants to do it.
Cool stuff. Well, Trey, I've been doing I was going to be like, I had an awakening, but that's way overhyping. We're talking about raids. I've been doing Toa on my iron. I had been doing Toa a little bit beforehand, Tombs of Amasket, which is a fun raid. If you're really enjoying PVMing and you want to try a raid, look at Toa first, because it's just probably one of the more accessible raids. It's really cool. I'm not going to go too much in detail about exactly all the ins and outs of it, because we're going to be talking about it in an upcoming Smash or Pass episode anyways. Hopefully, if we ever get there. We will, I promise.
Also, you can check out All About TOA with Winter Split.
That's right. Yeah, you can get there's your ins and outs right there.
You can get the negative take on it.
The raids you know what it is? The raids are so much fun that they're so polarizing. People are like they champion one, which means there's one of them that you have to hate by default. It's the rules. But yeah, it's one of the more accessible raids, and so that's the first one I've been looking at. And I had done it previously, but usually there's someone in the clan who was just like really good, really strong, like their account was great, and they were also skilled as a person. So it was hard to count those as seriously, because I knew that I'm getting carried.
Yeah, I think especially in TOA when you have somebody who's red Xing and butterflying, because those are two rooms where you literally, if they're doing it right, you don't have to even participate really.
Yeah, and even just knowing your DPS is so little, if you died for the other person, so little is going to change about that fight for them for the most part. It's they're already kind of soloing. So that's how it felt. So that was fun. And I tried to do some solos. But the way Toa works is there's these 4 different rooms, and it's kind of like a pick your own adventure, choose which one you want to fight first. And there's kind of these 2 different metas. You either start with this monkey room or you start with the crocodile room. So just everyone was choosing the monkey room. So I was like, okay, I guess when I'm soloing, I'm going to choose the monkey room. And I couldn't do it. I would get just destroyed when I got to the boss, and I just had no supplies, and it was just not a good time. So I was like, I guess I can't solo it. But my whole point is a week ago or a few days ago, I was like, I'm going to try it again, but I'm going to do the crocodile room first. And I was able to solo the raid, and it was such an exciting, it felt really good. It was really exciting that I was able to do it on my own, and it was tough. The fight itself was really difficult. I had to really be paying attention. I couldn't slack off and just take damage. So really felt like I was fighting for my life, but it made it very exciting. And I've got the full Moons gear, so like there's the 3 sets is mage, range, and melee. So I'm kind of bringing that. It's like this. It's new tech. I haven't got to play with this stuff before because when I did this on my main, it wasn't out, and then now my main would just be too strong to be making use of the moon stuff. So I could have no reason to try it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's the state of the game or it's me just playing through the game again, but my whole mindset has just been evolving a little bit where if it was like very focused on like efficiency, now it's like, I don't know. It's just like more experimental, I guess. Like I'm trying all this new gear out, and now when I'm running TOAs, I sometimes swap things out just to see how they feel because I don't have the proper setup. I just kind of have I just have what I have. So I'm trying to think of what I even mean by that. Like people might have Bofa, or they might have like a good mage setup in a Fang and all that sort of stuff, but I don't know, like I have the mage gear and I'm using the Warp Scepter sometimes, but the other day I decided to, what if I banked the Warp Scepter and I brought out the Blue Moon Spear, which is part of the Moon set, and I casted you can auto cast an Arceus spell called Grasp Undead, and it just does some damage, and it has like a chance at like freezing them, but it's like the freeze is so short that they stop for a second, and by the time you get another attack out, they're already moving, so it's not like barraging or anything like that, but it's kind of like a weird spell, and there's like no reason to ever use it, but I wanted to see like, is there a way I can use this? And then it allows me to bring the Blue Moon Spear, which also has a set effect where when you do damage, you have like a 25% chance at running at them and doing melee right at the same time, which is cool. It's not good. I barely ever get to use it, but it's cool when you do get to use it. I'm always finding excuses to get to bring them out.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's been a lot of fun. And like, I just been looking at the game a little bit differently where I don't have a ring right yet. I don't have any ring for the most part. I'm using a Explorer's ring, which is what you get from the Lumbridge Diaries, but I have the level 1 version. So it's not a good ring. It gives me 1 prayer. That's all it does. But I don't have anything else to give me stats. And a few people have said, why don't you just go to DKs? There's a way you can like this DKs. We talked about this already. You have the 3 bosses. So you're supposed to fight all 3 of them at once, but there's a way to snake around and just kill the melee one. Trey, did you do that for your rings?
Yeah. I just had my main go in there and tank the other 2 and kind of pull their aggro and then ran around, but same idea.
Yeah, and it's like super chill, right? Like you're able to just kind of kick back on your iron and just keep killing it, right?
It's like too chill. There's like a 90-second respawn timer, so it takes a long time. But yes, it's nothing if not chill.
Yeah, so a lot of people, they say that you got to kind of cheese it and you go around, and then you get the Berserker ring, which is like one of the best rings in the game, and you're gonna use it for like the longest time until you're finally looking to upgrade it or whatever. And I've thought about that, but in order for me to get to DKs, I would have to cheese it. I would either need to find someone to help me lure it away, or there's ways to do it on your own, I think, but it's just, I don't know, it's something janky. But I was like, you know what, I just don't feel like doing that. I feel like I kind of like the idea of not really knowing what my next best ring is going to be. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if I want my next best ring to be one of the best rings in the game. It'd be kind of cool to get something weird that I get to use for a little bit until I get something a little bit better. And I had that, so, oh my god, Trey, get me back on track here. What am I talking about?
I mean, you're talking about TOA and why you don't have a good ring slot item and switching out items just to have fun with the raid.
Yeah, and I guess just experimenting and like I like the idea of if I got the light bearer, oh my god, that'd be so huge. But I'm getting it organically. Like, I'm not having to cheese it. Like if I want to actually get the Berserker ring, I think I'm going to wait until I can fight all 3 of them. And it's a tough fight, so it's going to take me a little bit, I think, before I can get there. But there's so many other rings I can use in the meantime. You got the Vedion, like the Wildy bosses, they all drop rings. There's the Desert Treasure, or the Desert Treasure 2 ring that can drop. There's a Granite ring you can get from Gargoyles. And it's like, it'd be cool to actually be able to use them before you got the actual good ring. So, and I had another example of this too, where I was doing Toa I've been doing Toa a lot. It's a lot of fun. One of the rewards you get from it is a gem that you can put in your Karis. It's like the spear thing you can use to fight anything, I guess. Yeah, there's 3 gems, and then basically there's the yellow gem, which is the best gem because it can heal you. And it's just, once you have that gem, it opens up the raid a lot, which is cool. But then they have this blue gem, which is all right. You just do extra damage against Calphites or beetles. And then there's the red gem, which is kind of like the most useless, I would say, because what it does is when you use the special attack for the next 6 seconds, all your teammates can do a shit ton of damage. They do increased damage to the boss. But what sucks is your next attack is super slow. So it's just a way so that you can't use the special attack and then switch to like a really strong weapon to do increased damage. So my point is, of course you want the yellow ring. It's the yellow gem. It's the best one. But I was like secretly hoping for the red gem, because how much fun would it be to have nothing else but the red gem, so you have to use it. You get to play with the special attack, whereas if you get the yellow gem, I'm never using the red gem. And my wish came true. I got the red gem, and I've been just like busting it out whenever I can to be like, all right, I'm on voice chat. I'm gonna fucking use the spec. Everyone get ready. It's just like, and no one cares, by the way. They all hit zeros every friggin' time. When I say max damage, I don't know what happens. Everyone just hits 0. I think they're fucking with me, but yeah, it's fun. It's cool though. I like the idea of like, everyone get ready. I've got a red Garrus. I don't know, it's fun. I'm having a good time. I guess I'm trying to put together my own like my gear setups. It's nice. I'm not just going to the wiki and being like, all right, here's the best in slots. Boom, 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 boom. One day I will be doing that just because I'll get the gear for it. But until then, I have to kind of make. I don't know. I feel like there's no guides out there for me. I got to make my own. It's just me out there with my moon gear.
You should publish it once you get to the end game. This is the path everyone should follow.
Anyway, it's been a lot of fun. Is there anything you wanted to mention before we slide into the old Chamberinos?
I think that what I'm going to call the purging staff debacle has taught me that there's no sense in wasting my time saying, oh, well, this would be the more efficient thing for you to do. I've learned enough about you by now that I think if I tell you not to do something, it'll make you try to go for it even harder. So I say, keep sending and at the end of the day, you're saying you're having fun, and who would I be to tell you you're doing it wrong? So I say, keep going for it.
Why, thank you. And then I'm going to try the scorching bow one day and be like, what the fuck have you guys been letting me use the staff? No, I'm excited. There's a lot of cool stuff. Been playing around with the twin flame staff. Like, none of this gear existed when I went. My account used to be at this stage, my main. Like, the stuff just wasn't around. So like, it's just, I guess it's refreshing. It's cool. I guess it makes me excited because this is all like newly designed gear too. Like, it's all relatively new. And I guess they've done a pretty cool job. Yeah.
Like I said, you've been rubbing off on me because that's the Venator bow is not like efficient or necessary by any means. But yeah, it just sounds fun.
And I'm like, maybe I'm looking at this like kind of like as you would like a MOBA? League of Legends. Is that a MOBA? Where I have this like, I don't know, this fantasy where I have this moon gear. So it's got like these burning effects, right? For the Atlatl, the Eclipse moon. I have this like fantasy of like doing a raid, and they're just like, I don't know how, this is Dills, man. He's like, he's so good with the moon gear. He does what no one else can do. He just pulls out so much DPS, but we can't figure it out. Like, he's just, he's so in tune with the burn. Like, look at the way he switches to the burning claws and he sips some liquid adrenaline and bam, bam, bam. He throws some specs and then he switches to the Atlatl and does a friggin' Eclipse bomb. That's what I call it when you do the special attack of this burning. You throw an Eclipse bomb and he friggin' just does so much damage. It's unbelievable. That's like a fantasy that that's what I daydream about.
Yeah, no, just keep pursuing it. That'll definitely happen.
Then it's like in like League of Legends where you'd have that one dude which is like, oh, he's so good at that one champion. Like, he's like or name any of those type of games, like Marvel Rivals. He sucks at everything else. He's terrible. But when it comes to that one hero, there's nothing quite like him. Anywho, Should we do? Should you want to do Smash or Pass?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I got a little out of hand. All right, so we're doing Chambers of Xeric. So I think the best way to do this is maybe I'll quickly run through exactly what it is, but like very briefly. And then we'll talk about each of the bosses, because the way the raid works is there's a bunch of other bosses you got to fight before you get to Ulm. But the difference is they don't drop any actual items for the most part. You only get the reward at the end of the entire raid. So we'll quickly run through each boss. We'll do a mini Smasher Pass. Maybe we'll bring out the Bone Dagger for this one. We'll do a little Bone Dagger Stabberino or Pass. And then we'll talk about Ulm, and then we'll talk about the raid as a whole, and then whether or not we'd smash or pass the entire chamber. Xeric.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so Chambers of Xeric came out on January 5th, 2017. A pretty big deal. It's the first raid to ever come to this game, and like there's really no PVM content of this like magnitude at this point. Yeah, it was interesting because when it first was like, they did like some cool teasing where you were allowed to run through the raid, but there was just to see what it looked like without having any monsters, bosses, or any of the activities that you couldn't do anything in the actual raid. It was just like the lair. So that was pretty cool, and then you kind of share some feedback and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, my account was like kind of too low to actually be attempting it, so I wasn't really running it until a bit of time afterwards. What's your experience? Like, I guess quickly, Trey, what's your experience with Chambers?
So I think a huge asterisk for me that needs to come with this entire conversation is every single, maybe like one off for my diary on my main, but the vast majority of my KC have been post the massive QOL update that came for Chambers, which I think revolutionized the way like it feels to do. Like all of the notorious and tedious and annoying things that were part of that raid were solved for the most part. So I feel like I will have a lot more positive vibe towards it than when it was released, just because of that. Like some of the things that people have said, like, oh yeah, the kindling didn't used to be stackable. And it's just like, God, that must have been so annoying.
I don't even know if we're going to be able to go through the entire history of these quality of life changes because this is 2015. Has it been over 5 years? Oh yeah, it has been. Just a bit though. It's been over 10 years since this first came out. So a lot has changed. Chambers of Xeric is like a really cool, I think of it as like a really cool idea, but nobody does the raid how it was designed. And if Trey, a long time ago when this first came out, we did a 5-part series of Chambers of Xeric, just talking about this new raid. And the reason part of that was because there's a lot of stuff going on in it. You can fish, there's skilling, like you have to fish, you can hunt some bats for food, you can farm and make your own potions, there's a bit of construction going on, so there's like all these skilling elements. The reason it was a 5-part series is like, I thought people would do all that stuff. So we should talk about all the fish. If you do the raid now, nobody does half the skilling stuff. No one's fishing. No one's hunting for bats. You only make some of the potions. So yeah, there's a lot of skilling and stuff that's going on, but we know better these days. There's no point in doing them. And another cool element about Chambers of Xeric is they brought in this like roguelite. Is it roguelite or roguelike? I always mix the two up. But it has this like dungeoneering element where you go into the raid and you're going to get like a random assortment of rooms, and they're going to be in random order. And yeah, like I think the idea is like you're not really supposed to know what you're going to get, and you just do it, and you might get a good layout, you might get a bad layout, but as with everything, we quickly found a way to tell you exactly what what kind of room combination you got. And it became apparent that there were just some rooms that people would avoid because you didn't get them all. You only got you got like a random number of them. But there's a few bosses that people just didn't do because they were just hard to do it, and then you get points for each of the boss rooms. That's how you determine your chance at getting loot. Some of the bosses it just wasn't worth the points. Like not all rooms are equal when it comes to like the points and efficiency stuff. So That's kind of one of the problems with it. People solved it, and then now we have this like this. I was going to say mess again. It was created 10 years ago. Our first raid. It's quite ambitious for what it was. So, yeah, that was one of the pros. Is let's keep in mind that it is the very first raid. So it feels so. There's some things that feel a little outdated about the raid. It's our first, and I guess they learn from each. So, and it has this, I did a pro as a cool dungeoneering aspect. And mostly why I'm calling this a pro is because when we get to it, the other two raids don't have this at all for the most part. And I love how each raid is almost a different format. It makes them unique, and I really like that. I like that there's skilling rooms in the raid. With Theater of Blood, there's no skilling at all. It's just a pure fight, pure combat. And then with Toa, I guess you get puzzle rooms, and so, there's a little bit of skilling, I guess you can consider it. But I like Chambers of Xeric feeling like you got to do some skilling in this raid, which is cool. It's got a good variety of content and skill requirements. So, like, it's highly recommended to have, like, 78 Herblore. So I like that. It sucks needing that, not needing that, but, like, you're kind of gated if you don't have 78 Herblore. But I do like that you are, what's the word I'm looking for? You're rewarded for skilling. And then you have cool things like thieving rooms, where if you have a higher thieving, that'll help you, or agility, where sometimes the agility levels are so far apart from each other in the party that only maybe the best person with the agility can go through something. So I like that. There's a good variety of different types of rooms and puzzles and skills. There's a whole section of the fight where you're prepping for Ohm, where you're farming, you're making potions and combat potions, and it's like a downtime period where you're prepping for it. I like that. I think that's cool. Getting ready for the big fight. Feels very almost like D&D. The rewards are quite cool with Chambers. They've got some pretty cool rewards. We'll go through that, I think, maybe once we get to Ohm. We talk about the fight as a whole. And then, of course, I said the whole raids feel unique from each other, but that same goes for like the Ohm compared to Verzik, compared to Masket, or the Wardens. I forget what they're called. That's neat. Now, let me do the negatives real quick. Not all rooms are created equal. I already mentioned this, so it can be really annoying going in and out from a raid to try to get the right room combination. The culture around Chambers of Xeric is, I don't know, it's kind of weird sometimes. Like, people just get weird about points, because certain things reward your team points as a whole, but then you get points. And the way it works is your team points are what determine your chance of getting a rare, like a unique item. But your unique points, like your personal points, are what determines whether you, like, your chance at that being your unique versus someone else's. Stuff like that. So people get weird about it. I remember it must have been doing like we do raids or something, but somebody like was new and they pushed the boulder before everyone else did, or they were too slow or too fast and they got chewed up. Like, people were really upset over just the small amount of points that guy stole from others. And that's how I think people see it, as like you're stealing points from each other. So there's all of these unwritten rules about the raid, which is it's kind of cool that it has that, but it's just, it feels weird when one of those rules get broken and somebody gets upset. It starts to feel like oh boy, are we gonna have a gamer moment right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Have you been in any situations like that?
I haven't been a part of, like, I mean, I kind of avoid Wii raids for that reason, because you hear stuff like that. Our clan is pretty cool, and there's been there's been times where people have said, like, hey man, if you do that with different people, you're going to get your ass chewed up. But I haven't experienced it firsthand, luckily.
And then my last of the notes is most fights are low risk and kind of boring. The fun doesn't happen until you get to Ohm. And I largely think that's because this raid's 10 years old, so many of the fights have been broken and quote unquote solved, so that it's not a challenge, which makes it just like a little bit more boring. Those are my notes real quick. Do you have any notes, like anything you want to talk about in terms of the raid as a whole before we start looking at the individual bosses within Chambers?
Yeah, I can briefly mention a couple things. I think that the the underlying word through all of Chambers is jank. Everything has jank to it. Even Ulm has jank to it. And there's kind of most of the kind of exploits and the ways of solving the rooms are because of some weird coding that, spaghetti code kind of stuff. I think my biggest problem with Chambers has always been that the Ulm fight is really fun and everything else kind of feels like this like prelude. And especially with how many of the rooms are just like safe spotted.
Yeah.
And I think they did a lot better job with the next two raids. Whatever I might say about Tombs of Amasket, I think the difficulty, I actually think the rooms in Tombs of Amasket are harder than the final boss fight in a lot of times. And then, Tob is kind of a perfect like scaling up as you go until this final showdown kind of a thing. It's hard. It's probably one of the hardest bosses to teach just because it just hits you all at once. And I've never, any other content in the game, when I've been taught it, I've never heard more people say like, we just go stand here. I don't even know why, but that's just what you have to do. Like, that's just how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I think what would be a no better example than our first boss room that's listed here, which is the Ice Demon. So, this is jank at its finest. So the Ice Demon is like not even really a boss. Like I when I was thinking that we are going to be talking about the bosses leading up to Ulm, there's some of these bosses I'm like, this isn't a boss, but it's listed in the boss list on Wiki, so fine, we'll go through it. But this is kind of like almost like a skilling boss because you have this ice demon who's basically frozen in this area that have these two braziers, these like torches you can light beside him. There's 4 of them. And so what you do, and there's these trees, you woodcut them, you throw them in the torch, you light it on fire, and then it slowly melts. And then he busts out of the ice. It's such a weird fight because the way that I think you're intended to kill him is with fire spells. Because if you use fire against him, you do a ton of damage. If you do any other attack style, your damage is so nerfed. So you're kind of supposed to do fire spells, I think, but nobody does it. And I got my purging staff. So like,
here we go.
How cool would it be to bring the purging staff to the ice demon to just completely shred it? Because the purging staff does extra damage to demons, right? Sounds cool? Well, guess what? Ice Demon isn't a friggin' demon. I don't know what it is, but it's not technically a demon. So you don't get any of your friggin' damage buffs from it. I don't even know. What is it? A big ice fiend? It's called the Lord of Ice Fiends. So what is it? Maybe technically it's just a big ice fiend, which is a devil and not a demon. Like that's probably some bullshit that they're going to pull out. But yeah, anywho,
So this is really interesting because I actually did blow the huge amount of dust off of my purging staff, and I took it to Ice Demon, and we could not find an answer as to whether it's effective against him. People were saying no, but I've been looking on the wiki. It is listed as a demon on the wiki, but people have said it does not have like that extra demon boost against Ice Demon, which is so strange because it would finally give a use for the purging staff. The only thing I can find on here that would give any indication is that on if you go to the purging staff and you look at like recommended equipment, Ice Demon isn't even listed as one of the things to kill it with. So
that is weird. It
seems like it's not. Yeah. And it's so weird though.
It's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not listed. Like I'm looking up Demon Bane, thinking should be a note saying, by the way, Demon Bane weapons will or will not work, but there's nothing. Where the wikiers needs updating. I'm speaking off just seeing people talking about it on Reddit, or maybe it was like a YouTube video or something. So yeah, again, I don't even know how you confirm one of these things. I guess the way you confirm it is if you can cast your the demon spell, because it only can be casted on demons.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll let you cast it, but it just won't get the extra damage boost.
Well, you were able to cast it. Do you remember?
I was using fire spells.
Oh, I
was
see.
just using the purging staff to auto cast elemental spells.
Cool.
So I have no idea.
So yeah, there's the Ice Demon. What do you think? Is this a mini? Are you gonna bone dagger Stabberino or pass?
I'll bone dagger Stabberino. I think it's I a little bit of skilling mixed in there. You do some wood cutting, some fire making. I think I think a through line on my smash or pass for these, once again, I'm taking a page out of your book. I think if the lore side of it, like if the fight makes sense, like I like that he's frozen there and then you like have to thaw him out so you can fight him. I think that's a cool idea. And it's such an easy fight that I can't complain about it.
Oh yeah, that's tough. See, I think I wanted to pass. I think I'm gonna pass, but I do think you make a strong point of like the skilling element of it makes a ton of sense. And you still have to skill. You didn't find a way around not having to skill. Like I think some of the other fights are gonna be. You
can pass just because you're butthurt about the purging staff thing.
I gotta go try it.
That's reasonable.
I gotta go try it. So the next one they have listed here, this is kind of super silly, but it's lizardmen shamans. Those aren't bosses because you can just go out and fight them. They're just, I would call them, and we should do an episode down the road where we talk about like elite mobs where they're not bosses, but they're like tormented demons, demonic gorillas, lizardmen shamans. They're just like a little bit they got a little bit more going on than other monsters. Funny enough, like the lizardman shaman room is probably one of the hardest rooms in the raid, I would say.
Yeah, it's tough because there's a very crucial difference in that you don't have the Shazian armor on, so that green ball attack that you just ignore when you're fighting them normally becomes this huge AoE bomb that you have to avoid.
Yeah.
And I think the other big difference is that it's multi-combat as opposed to being single combat where the majority of where you're going to kill them out in the wild. Mm-hmm. So that steps, both those things crank up the intensity of it a lot, especially when you're with a bunch of people and you're uncoordinated.
Yeah, and you're fighting a couple of them at once, and they are tuned up too. They're like 25% stronger. They can do up to 40 damage usually. Their poison starts at like 16, so it's like they're kind of nasty, and they're one of the only rooms you can't fully cheese out like you can. There are some ways you can cheese parts of the shaman room, but it's a little bit tougher. You're usually still having to fight them like normal. So yeah, that's a tough one. But yeah, they don't drop anything like they would outside of the raid. You can get the Dragon Warhammer from these guys typically. What do you think about the Lizardmen Shamans? Is that the room, I guess, specifically for this raid?
I will pass. I'll pass for sure. I'm happy when I'm in a raid that doesn't have it in there.
I think I'll pass too because they are. It's where you can die so easily. Oh yeah, and for the longest time, you had to remember to bring your own poison potion, your anti-poison in, because these guys would poison you, and the poison would start kind of high. If you didn't bring anti-poison in with you, you had no way of curing that. So yeah, like it was kind of silly. Nowadays, this is one of the quality of life updates, is you can make an anti-poison in there. It took forever to be able to do that though, like years, which is it's funny. But yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one too. They kind of suck. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Is Munidile. So this is our first, what I would consider an actual boss. You have these two, and I think there's a little bit of lore that I guess a little bit of lore for what Chambers of Xeric is. There's this dude, this like friggin' mystical, magical, very strong villain dude who used to be a king of Korend, and then I guess he got corrupted by like these dark altar powers, these weird crystals, so he went out to find them or something, and then they went into this cave, and it had all these crystals around, which is why you have a lot of these stronger monsters. And I think I don't even know, like some of it is like monsters that were there, some of it is like this was somebody for Xeric and they just stayed back for whatever reason, or they used to be the Xeric's best guard and now he's like stuck in this thing. So that's kind of like it in a nutshell. I'm probably getting so much of it wrong, but use that as a jump off point for you to go read the wiki on it. But these Mutadiles are like these weird dog-like crocodiles that I think were like mutated and experimented on, and that's why they are the way they are. Quickly, the fight is, you got a small Mutadile that you have to kill. Once you kill the small Mutadile, the big Mutadile comes up and does just a lot more damage to the mama Mutadile. And every now and then, the Mutadile is going to walk towards this tree and eat it. And when it's at the tree, it's going to heal. The way you're supposed to do it is you're supposed to have an axe and you're supposed to chop down the tree and just chop it. It's going to regrow, but you just keep chopping it down so that they can never eat it. No one does that unless you're doing like challenge modes, but nobody does that. What they do instead is they freeze Mutadile with a freezing spell or ZGS, or you don't do anything, you let him heal, and you just out DPS it.
Most of my experience with Mutadile has been watching Mr. Mammal die there on his Iron Man. If you have someone that freezes, you're good to go. You just stand there and shoot him, and then you take a bunch of damage. So
I like how there's different roles. Usually, like you do have someone who's freezing, typically.
Yeah. And it is like, if I do see it on the list, it's like, all right, cool. That's a pretty fast one. I don't really have to do anything special or crazy for it.
Yeah, and like in terms of like meta strats, they drop 2 of like every potion. Sorry, I got some of the lore was wrong. They're like they're these dog-like giant crocodile mutants. What happened was you had one big Mutadile that was pregnant, but then Xeric was inside of the chamber, transformed into his current form.
So glad you said chamber.
And then what happened is when he mutated to his new form, everything inside of the chambers mutated with him, and now you have these 2 Mutadiles, and now they act as the guardian of the chambers for reasons unknown. So, smash or pass?
I'll smash. Like, I think I am for the Bone Dagger. I'm going to base it on if I'm loading a raid up, if I would skip it or not.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't skip Ice Demons, I don't skip Shamans, and I don't skip Mutadiles. But I passed the other 2, but I will do a Stabberino for the Mutadile because I don't know. It's cool. There's different ways of doing it. I like when you do the CMs, you actually, at least when I did them, people were woodcutting the trees. So that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have, I wouldn't have even considered this a boss, but they are, so we're going to do it. It's called the Skeletal Mystics. You're basically this maze, and you have these 3 dark mages that, if they can see you, they're going to attack you. You pray mage, and you kill them. What I kind of liked about it is, I guess the meta changed over time, because there was a period when I was doing this where my party would bring heavy ballistas because of how long the range was, and you would just use the heavy ballista here. I don't think anyone does that anymore. Everyone's just doing rune crossbow if you've got that instead, which you definitely should. And they're also like, people are like safe spotting it now. You can get them stuck on a weird. This is some RuneScape jank. There's just tiles where they just like stand on it and they just stop working.
Just stop moving for no reason.
Yeah, and they don't attack really, so that's what people do. They just get them stuck there and then you kill them. What do you think of this room?
Yeah, I think I think this is the most somebody says, "Hey, go stand here and shoot them." Room in the whole raid. You forget to put your salve on. There's not much to say about it. You know what? I'm gonna break my own rule because it's a pass. Even though this is definitely one that you want to have in your raid because of how easy and fast it is.
It is a pass for me as well. Next up is a Tecton. So what you really need is basically a Dragon Warhammer or an Elder Maul, and you need to hit it. It's also one of those raids where people give you shit if they see you speccing the room before, where they go, "Did you just waste your spec?" You're like, "Fuck." Again, this is one of the raids where the tech on how you do it, I don't know what we're doing or why we're doing it, but this is just what we have to do. So you go into the room, you got this big dude who's at an anvil hammering on a sword. By the way, his arm is a sword, and basically he was like this architect or some sort of builder, but he was a good friend of Xeric, and he built a bunch of things. And he actually Tecton played a huge role in like building out the chambers of Xeric. So Xeric was like, and then so Xeric decided to reward his best builder by basically turning him into a monstrosity that will spend the rest of his life building his one sword, I guess. I don't know. So anyways, you walk into this room, there's a big anvil there, he's hammering away at his own arm, and all you do is you attack him on one corner, and then you run to the next corner, and you kind of run laps around him while you attack. He's going to run to his anvil, and then he's going to come back, and you got to do it all over again. So it's just one of those fights where if you're going to miss all your Dragon Warhammers and you don't have good DPS, there's like might not be anything you can do. It just might be a really lousy time. On the fence on whether you're going to include it or not. Now, the nice part, not many other bosses are like this. It has a chance at dropping an Onyx gem, which is like 2.6 mil. So yeah, you can kill it and actually get something you can sell outside of the raid, which is neat. What are your thoughts on Tecton? Do you like it? Do you do Tecton in your raids, or are you skipping them?
Yeah. No, I mean, I have a Warhammer and a bludgeon, so I'm happy to do Tecton. I struggle with it a lot. I think a lot of people do, learning kind of the way you kill it, which is essentially hit on one side and then you can run in a circle and hit it on each side. And I actually really like it now because it's not a room where you stand in a corner and shoot something. There is there's some teamwork involved. There's some timing involved. It actually feels like a boss that you have to actually think about and try. You have to actually try for the most part. But yeah, so I think it's at least somewhat of an interesting fight. And that's pretty much all. That's as much as I can hope for with compared to some of these other rooms.
Oh, sorry. Is it a stab or a?
Yeah, I will. I mean, come on. I know we're doing Bone Dagger, but I do have to smash this one. It is a crush boss.
Yeah, Super Smash. It's a pretty cool one, and they were mindful of the negatives of this room. So when you do a challenge mode, so the difference between we didn't mention this, but if you do a challenge mode, it's not random. It's a set room order that never changes. It has every room in it. But what they did is they put Tecton first. So if you miss your Dragon Warhammer, you don't have to worry. And I actually think there's some quality of life so you don't miss your first hit or something. I think it's got some weird... Yeah, the first Dragon Warhammer special attack is now a guaranteed hit. Oh, and he no longer resets his defense when healing at the anvil. So those are some major changes, actually.
That's good.
So maybe it is
one
more
other
doable.
small thing. I forgot to mention when I was talking about the raid as a whole, but I definitely think that... I mean, as soon as I say it, I realize 99% of RuneScape bossing is like this, but it's the whole Chamber of Xeric is very samey with the color palette. It's all green and black, and I don't know but I do like Tecton. Always feels like somebody turned on the light switch. There's a lot of lava in there and stuff, so it does at least feel a lot more like you're going into a different part of the chamber than some of the other rooms.
It's cool. I like Tecton. He's a stab for me too, or a smash if you would. Just he's got some cool lore. He looks pretty cool, and I don't know. The fight's all right. It's okay. It's annoying sometimes, but whatever. The next boss is the Vanguard, which is 3 monsters, 3 bosses, and they basically are these weird slug-looking things, and basically have to keep them all within 30% of each other's health. So if you're in a party of 3, you're each going to take one each for the most part, and you're trying to kill them all together. You want to make sure you're not killing them too fast, and they just spin around in a circle. So there's a few different strategies, but this is one of the rooms that's often skipped. It's just you kind of want 3 people, otherwise it's a bit tricky. But yeah, you can have one person who screws it up, and then if you screw it up, they all just heal, and it can be quite tough. So yeah, this room's kind of cool. I'll just say right now, it's a pass for me. I wish it was a cool fight, but it's confusing. The way the health bar is monitored, like there's like a health bar with all 3 of them. I'm always looking at it, like, what the fuck are these lines for? Like, what? I don't understand. It's kind of weird. But another thing is this is like personal, but the first time I ever did this room was with this dude who was like super sweaty. He was going to teach me and another guy who were both like new, and we told him that. And let's just say he had really high expectations of us, and then he got really upset and basically said, you two stand in that corner, I'm going to do this room on my own. And it was like a super uncomfortable experience. So yeah, there you go. Look, it's a spite pass for me.
This has to be a pass, because this is one of the rooms that I've done maybe once, because everybody tells you to just reload the raid if it's in there. So yeah, I barely have any experience with it, but that's because it's not a room that people want to do. So definitely pass.
And they're called the Vanguard because they were Xeric's Vanguard. They used to be actual beings, not these weird slug things. But I think they didn't do well in a fight, or they did something to piss off Xeric, and he turned them into these weird slug things. So they're cursed. Xeric wasn't really that nice of a dude. Wasn't very nice. And next up is the Vasa Mysterio. This is like one of Xeric's like best mages, and it's like this super cool sorcerer. But then the sorcerer walked in there and he was like, yo, these crystals make me feel pretty cool. What if I said, fuck you, Xeric, I'm just going to chill here forever? And that's kind of what he did. And he got all mutated with these rocks and stuff. So Vasa Mysterio is one of the ones that I do not do. I pass on it, but some people do it. I think it's good points, but it's It's just kind of an annoying fight. But what do you think of Vesa Mysterio?
Yeah, same. I mean, it's another. I guess for people who haven't done Chambers much, there's kind of this rule of the V bosses. They call them the 3 V bosses, and the 3 that start with V. And you basically, when you're learning, you skip all of those because the 3 V bosses are the 3 worst ones. So I will also pass because I've also only ever done this boss once.
Yeah, it's annoying. You got to bring in my experience, you have to bring certain weapons for it. It's like super weak to stabs. You got to bring your own stab weapon for the crystals, which makes no sense. Why the hell are the crystals weak to stab? I feel like crush, or does that not make sense? Does that make sense for the crystals to be weak to stab and not crush? Or am I crazy?
No, I think it's got to be crush, right? Like breaking glass.
Yeah. But then now I'm thinking, what about a pickaxe? They kind of have a more stabby. Technically, you're stabbing, you're not crushing with a pickaxe, right? When you're mining rock.
Yeah.
Good question.
No, I guess now that you mention it, yeah, you are in a very crushing motion. You're swinging down in a stab, which is ironic because when you set your pickaxe to stab, you just poke at it with like the stick part.
Yeah. What's going on there, Jagex? I don't want to literally stab him like that, but anywho. Let's go to our next boss. This one definitely seems like it has the most potential and the most interesting of the fights, but in RuneScaper fashion, nobody does it properly. That's Vespula. Cool looking boss. It's like a beetle that's flying, looks super ugly. There's like a portal. It's like this like bug that like Chambers of Xeric has like a lot of shit going on. It's almost like if this was legit, you'd be like, yeah, we should. It's like Stranger Things. Like we should just close this up and like let's stop poking around in here because you got these crystals that are corrupting people. You got these weird monsters, and oh, look, this room open up a portal to the abyss. How the what? Whatever. So Vespula is this like bug that comes from the abyss, and there's the abyss portal, and you kind of have to destroy the portal while Vespula's attacking you. They have these like grubs that grow, but I think you can take it and you can feed it to the portal or you feed it to Vespula. I hate the fight because it's like, it feels so janky that like, I don't know. It's just, anyways, it's a pass for me, but I so badly want it to be a smash because it seems like it could be so cool. Everything that's going on looks kind of cool, but you don't do any of it. So it's a pass. You?
Yeah, I mean, this one I've killed 0 times, another V-boss, and another pass.
Yeah, basically what happens is you'll never do this, and then you'll do a challenge mode one day, and they'll tell you it's super simple, you'll be able to do it. And you might be like, oh, this is kind of easy, but holy shit, is this like... it makes you want to... Can we try the proper way? Well, it can't be that bad, but... And you know what? How abruptly are we stopping? That was all of the main bosses, but I feel unsatisfied. So let's talk about quickly some of the skilling rooms. Mostly because I don't really know why some of these aren't the boss fights, but you have a guardian room. Hate this room. This is a pass for me right now, I'll tell you that. You do a pickaxe and you hit the boss and you run back 2 steps. You hit the statue and you run back 2 steps. If you're too slow, he's going to slap you. If you're too slow, when he throws a rock, it's going to hit you. But you need a pickaxe and you run back and forth, just stabbing it. And it's a weird jank thing to dodge everything, but it sucks. That's a pass. What do you think, Trey?
I love Guardians. I love it. Sorry, I thought you were going to move on. I had to jump in there. No, I do. Because it is something that feels like I can't think of a better way of saying it than like skilling. Like it's actually an interesting way of having something skilling. Like as a boss, as a quote unquote puzzle room in this raid, it's kind of whatever. But like, I think that just very briefly, like in the wider range of the RuneScape raids, like the things that they call puzzles are such a joke. And I think the best way of doing it are things like this, where it's not like a fight, but it's just a quick little running game or something where it's just something to break up the grind. But it is, at least you're doing something besides pretty much the rest of these other puzzles.
That's
where you're
fair.
Just standing there. I think there is some skill expression there.
I think I'm still going to pass because I just find it annoying, but this is a raid I think all the puzzles, for the most part, you leave them in the raid because they're fine.
Yeah.
So that's a smash for you. Let's do crabs, which is like, this one's kind of cool. It shoots like an orb, and then there's these crystals, and you need to bounce the orbs off the crabs, and they have to go into the rocks. It's, honestly, I'm going to do a smash because this is like one of the most puzzles. Like it doesn't feel like it's ever been fully figured out. There's no tile markers. Maybe there is, but there's no plugins that I've seen that will like tell you exactly what to do. You still kind of have to like think a little bit. You have different roles for people. If you suck, I'm sorry, but you're going to be stuck at corner duty where you sit over in the corner and do nothing. Trust me, I
guess I suck.
Hundreds of raids I've had to do that, and it's fine. It's actually not bad because you don't have to do anything. But so I like it. It feels, yeah, you feel like you have to do it every time. I don't know. I like it. What do you think of the crabs?
Yeah, I mean, like I just said, I'm usually just told to go sit in the corner. I think it is the most puzzly room of any puzzle room in any of the raids. But I think the problem with it is it's a single person puzzle. As far as like, yeah, it's something that like if I had a book of puzzles that I pulled out and was doing or something, like it would be a fun little single player puzzle game. But because there's multiple people, you do need multiple people to solve it. Like you just need bodies to go, like, but you still kind of want one person saying like, all right, this is what we're doing. But yeah, you need a maximum of like 3 people. And then the rest, if you have a bigger group than that, yeah, everybody else goes and stands in the corner. But all that said, I have to give it a stab just, yeah, because it's a puzzle room that's actually a puzzle as opposed to so many of these other things that are either just nothing, like a couple of the ones we're coming up on, or stuff like in Tombs of Amasket where the RuneLite plugin solves it and you're just basically running through an empty room at that point.
Yeah, that's what Tombs of Amasket does. It tells you exactly what to do. I think the way the raid works where the rooms borrow each other's layout, so it like there's no plugin that can predict, oh, this is crabs in this room because sometimes it's mutadiles in this room. I think, yeah. So the one thing I don't like about it is that you have to change the crystals to get to do the puzzle. You're bouncing this light off these crabs, but it has to be the color of a combat style blue mage, red melee, green range. But the problem is, like, the colors that you're matching that up with are, like, black and yellow and purple. So it's like, I always have to go on the wiki to be like, what do I need to do for purple again? Is it blue? Like, I don't know why the rocks couldn't just match the combat style it has to be. But you have to, like, I don't know, you have to memorize it. So that's kind of dumb. But anyways, yeah, that's a pass overall. Next, let's do the thieving room. So you have a bunch of chests that you have to like open up, and you just get these grubs, and then you feed it to this like scavenger beast, and you're good to go. By the way, I think for the crabs, the lore behind it, they're just, you know, the crystals are like empowering things, so they're like just alive or whatever. Whereas the thieving room, there's this dude who is like taking care of a scavenger that he found, which is this monster you find in the raid. The scavenger killed him, but you just got to feed him until he gets tired and falls asleep. So anyways, it's an okay room, I guess. It's chill. I don't know. It's okay.
I mean, this is the one that keeps coming to my mind when I'm talking about the nothing rooms. Like you literally just like open chest and pull out these grubs. Like there's no, I can't think of any way. Well, I don't know. I can't call it a puzzle. I can't, it's like straight up filler is what it feels like.
Yeah, it's almost like a memory game. Memorize the ones that give you grubs, or memorize the chests that don't poison you, and stay away from those.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. And now the plugin does all that for me, so I guess that's even more so why I don't think of it like that.
Yeah, that's fair. So that's a pass, you say?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to say this is a smash just because it's fine. I don't hate it. I don't love it. But I'm glad it's in the raid, I guess. Tightrope is a weird one. This is technically a puzzle, but it's really not. So you have a tightrope in between these two little islands. On one island is all mages. On the other island are all rangers. They won't attack you unless you cross the tightrope. So if you cross the tightrope, they'll all attack you. You'll probably die because they hit really hard. And this is where the culture around Chambers of Xeric. Some people will like be super intense about this. If it's someone's raid, if they're the ones that kind of scouted out the raid, it's their party, you join their party for this raid, they're the ones that get to cross the tightrope, and they grab the key that is used to unlock the room, because whoever does that is granted extra points. So it's common etiquette just to let the party leader to do it. I don't even know why I'm griping on it, because it's cool that there is a system that rewards and it's kind of fair. And the problem is, I guess, it stems from people being like, I'm going to get fucking 100 more points than these guys. I'm going to be the first one. Someone being selfish, right? Too many people are being selfish. We need to come up with a rule that makes it fair, so it's not like, whatever, this dude's stealing points.
I think also, just on a side note, just as far as player etiquette goes, like there's nothing intuitive about that. Like I think, I mean, God, it sounds like you're raiding with some really toxic people, but yeah, I think there's a big difference between like, hey, it's common etiquette to do this. It's just kind of whatever, versus like, are you fucking kidding me? He's supposed to do that. He set the raid. What's wrong with you? But,
and to be fair, I don't know if it was ever a scenario where you walked away being like, wow, that person was mean. But like, sometimes you're just like, oh, you feel bad for not knowing. You feel like, oh, like I unintentionally stole point. You know what I mean? And then it's like, God, if I get the purple, are they going to think back about when I stole this? Which it's very insignificant in the long run. So anyways, for me, this is, I guess I'll do a pass because there's been I've seen some funny things happen with raiding with friends where like, my brother used to always tell people like, can somebody please check the agility level of the rope, because it changes depending on the average level of your party. So some people won't be able to do it. And then, so you say that, so the idea is someone's not going to think they're going to try to cross it. It's going to tell them whether or not they can do it, but they probably can do it, and then they get attacked and they get they get killed, which is rough. But when you're with friends, that can be kind of, you can have a good laugh sometimes.
mm-hmm.
I guess I'll do a pass. A smash. Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, okay. I'll pass.
Yeah, you'll pass. It's fair. So that's basically all the rooms for the most part. Yeah, once you get through a handful of them, you come to this farming room, and that's where you prepare for the fight to fight the big Olm. So should we talk about Olm and like the rewards now that come from this raid?
Let's do it.
All right, so you come up to this Olm, which is this cool, it's a pretty cool fight. If you played RuneScape 3, it seems kind of like heavily inspired by maybe the Queen Black Dragon. Although what's neat is like this giant Olm is this giant dragon-like thing, and you have his head in the middle, and then his claws on each side, and you can attack all three of them. But basically, his head is immune from being damaged until the last phase. But you have to basically destroy both of his hands first, and then you can attack his head. One hand, you need to do it with melee, and one hand, you need to do it with mage. That's essentially the fight. While that's all going on, he's going to be doing a bunch of special attacks at you, and you're going to have to be dealing with all that, but gamers have figured out a way to game around it. So before we talk about the actual fight, let's look at some of the rewards, because I remember they had a hard time landing on these rewards, and we've even seen some changes since it came out. They had the idea of releasing this stuff called the Twisted Armor, which was going to be a melee set of armor that had worse strength bonuses than some of the other gear, but it was more accurate. So they wanted like an accurate melee gear. And they ended up shelving that for whatever reason, and instead we got a few cool things. So you mentioned this at the beginning, but there's the prayer scrolls, which are the most easiest to get. The dexterous prayer scroll, which gives you rigor, and then the arcane prayer scroll, which gives you augury, which is the mage counterpart. So the dex is worth like 7 mil, arcane is 1 mil, but they're both, I don't know, they're so good. The reason they're so cheap is because people only need them one time. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, when you get a purple chest, I believe 60% of the chance is a prayer scroll.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so it's super common, and yeah, you're going to get a whole lot of them on your way to getting other purples.
The next we have the Twisted Buckler, which is like a shield for range, which is kind of cool. I guess it has more uses these days than it used to, but with the Twisted Bow, the Bowfa, and all those like two-handed, you're not going to be using it with that, but it's kind of cool. It's worth 14 mil, so it's something. Then you have the Dragon Hunter crossbow. Of course, it's a crossbow that does extra damage to dragons, so that's worth 45 mil right now. Used to be much higher, but it is what it is. You have the Din's Bulwark, which is a two-handed shield, which is kind of cool. It's about 13 mil. It gives you really great defenses, and there's some cool tech behind it. So I think it's a cool item. It's kind of versatile. Like, there's weird strategies you can use where you need the Din's Bulwark. So I don't know. That's kind of cool. Actually, I'll ask your thoughts about these items when I go through them all. You have the Ancestral set, which is just your best in slot mage armor, which looks really cool. They kind of reminds me of like very Harry Potter like for some reason, what I think of. But their original proposal was, it was crazy. You had this like black mask on, and I don't know, you should look it up. It was all purple and black. It looked weird. And then you have Dragon Claws. Sorry, let me back up. 40 mil for the hat, 120 mil for the top, 95 mil for the bottom, so those are really strong. You have Dragon Claws, which are a great special attack weapon, 70 mil for the most part. You have the Elder Maul, which is 123 mil. It used to be like 10 mil, but they gave it a special attack that allows you to reduce the defense of something. So before it was just a PKing weapon, and now it's got more purposes. You have the Kodai Insignia, which makes the Kodai wand, which allows you to, it's a one-handed wand. It's really great for the Inferno. You can auto-cast ancient spells, and it also has a chance at saving your runes, as well as not needing waters. It's 108 mil. And then lastly, the Mega Rare. We kind of talk about it, but we don't talk about what a Mega Rare is. Every raid has a Mega Rare where it's super rare to get, super good, worth a lot of money, and that's the Twisted Bow. It does a ton of damage. The gimmick behind it is it does more damage to something that is magic based, so the higher magic level they have, the more damage it'll do, so it comes in play in a lot of cool spots, but it's worth 1.5 billion gold. It's a lot of money. You got the pet. Challenge modes allows you to change the Olm pet into any of the boss pets, and the Twisted Ancestral Color Kit allows you to recolor your ancestral armor. Oh gosh, what are your thoughts about these weapons? Anything that stands out that you're like? Anything that you hate? Let's hear.
Yeah, I think the Chambers purples are my favorite of all of them. As far as I really like the variety. I also think that if I asked this question one time of like, if you could start a brand new level 3 account and the only thing is that you can start off with every purple from one of the raids, which would you pick? And I think Chambers is probably the best answer for that. But yeah, I love the variety. Like you got multiple cool spec weapons, mage stuff. I mean, the ultimate like range thing. And I know every raid has like a mixture of those, but this one, I don't know. I think that it doesn't have, like there's the Den's Bulwark and the Buckler, which I think are both in their own right, kind of cool and interesting. But I don't know. You don't have the Justy armor like you do at Tob, where it's like, oh man, I got this. I know that for a main, obviously it's going to be like, I want the more valuable one. But I feel like if I got any of those on my iron, there would be fun uses for every single thing there.
Everything besides the prayer scrolls is over 10 mil, whereas running Toa, it's common for people to be like, we're not going to split these items because they're just not that much money. Whereas Chambers, It seems like everything's worth something you're probably going to split unless it's one of the scrolls.
Right. But yeah, no, I think they're all really cool. I would love to get almost any of them. Even a Den's Bulwark is kind of a meme, but I'd want it partially just for the meme, but also like, I don't know. I just think it's a kind of a fun weapon.
Yeah, I would bring it on my main when I go like skilling in the wilderness or something, and like no one's killing you with that thing. Like there are times people are trying to kill you and they say, and as a PKer, I've done the same thing. You're fighting someone who's got a Den's Bulwark and you're like, oh my God, like I can't hit anything on them. This is pointless. It's wasting my time. It's not even fun. He's not going to die. Yeah, it's crazy how good it is. Yeah, I agree. It's got like it's a good value raid. Problem is, maybe you don't see, the problem I feel with it, you don't see uniques as much as the other raids. So it feels like, I just remember sending it sometimes and being like, kind of like you walk away being like, how do we not see something? Like we had like we should have seen it. I feel like we should have seen a unique. Like we just ran so many where there were a very high percentage chance at getting it. We just weren't lucky, but yeah, anyways.
That's a really common criticism of it, is it's got like the worst purple rate.
Yeah. So yeah, great purples, maybe not the best purple rate, but then of course we can't grade the raid without talking about the last boss. So yeah, you have Olm. Talked about the 2 arms and the head. What's kind of neat is it like Dragon Bane weapons, the Dragon Hunter crossbow or the lance do work on Olm, and a cool little like real life lore behind that is like Olms are like these weird like creatures, like I don't know if reptiles is the right word, but people used to think those were baby dragons back in the day. So that's I don't know if Jagex was like that's why they're gonna make it weak to Dragon Bane weapons, but kind of cool, kind of works. I find Olm to be the chillest of the 3 bosses because the fight has been kind of figure it out. When I was learning this, the way we would do it is you would go in with your gear and somebody would die before at the very start of the fight, and you would just suicide supplies on the ground. And you would go make some more supplies in the prepping place, and then you would go fight Ulm. But now your party had access to 28 brews that were on the ground throughout the fight. So you knew you were going to be able to go through some stuff, and then you need your split up, and you need some people fighting the melee hand, some people fighting the mage hand. But while you're doing that, Ulm kind of does all these different attacks at you. And what's tough is a lot of these attacks, if you're with someone who is maybe inexperienced with the raid, they can really like kind of hurt your party. He burns somebody and says, I'm burning. And if you're next to anyone, you will pass that burning to them. And then they will start burning for like, 20, 30 seconds. My point is there's all of these different mechanics that are kind of being thrown at you, which is going to be really tough. So having that 28 brews on the ground is great. Or you do what everyone does now is you can set it up in this way. I'm going to do a bad job of explaining it, but you set it up in this way where you can run back and forth, and then Ulm is just never seeing anybody. Every time it goes to attack, no one's there, and it doesn't attack. And it makes the fight like super brain dead because suddenly all the mechanics of the fight are basically just not happening. I like reacting to things and feeling like a good gamer. That's my gripe with the Ulm fight, but it's pretty hectic. What do you think, Trey? Do you like Ulm?
Yeah, I love the Ulm fight. Our perspectives on this raid are probably some of the most different of any piece of content in the game, because obviously I've very recently been doing it after everything's been solved, and you probably saw a lot more of the progression of it being solved. And so for me, it's been going in and people saying like, this is how we do the raid. Like I've done the most of them with 3 people. So it's like one person's on melee, one person's setting the head, and one person's running the head. And obviously they've been having me run the head because that's like the easiest position to be in. But as I've been doing it, it's chill enough that I'm able to ask questions and kind of learn about it. And I think it's really interesting. I think that it's more apparent than some other places about like, you have to know a lot about like the actual coding of the boss to understand how to defeat it. And I can see how that's very frustrating. But once you are explained to that, like once that is explained to you, it does become apparent it becomes apparent on screen what needs to happen. Like they're saying, oh, well, we have to get the head over here and take 2 of his attacks because we know that in his cycle, this is where we want to get it. And like I had somebody drawing it up on MS Paint for me to like explain it because it's like that, like in depth. But I think it's beloved by the high level community because once it is very rewarding once you do learn that to kind of take control of the fight and have it like bend to your will. I have really enjoyed this fight and I'm still very much learning it. And I have a fun time every time learning it and reacting to everything and getting better.
I wonder if I feel almost like a bit resentment or jaded towards Chambers because I had learned it. And like I said, there wasn't any running the heads. It was like, there's just strategies were just way more noobish. But, and you ate so much damage. It was just so hectic, but it was just like, it was a crazy fight. And I remember it was just tough. And then now people are able to skip all of that sort of stuff. And I think maybe this comes towards like the culture that I've seen with it is that sometimes people get upset. Like they get annoyed when you pass a burning to them. It's by accident, usually, I guess, right? I don't know who's doing it on purpose, but like people get annoyed of burning being passed on them, or they'll be annoyed if maybe you're too slow and it keeps screwing up the head turning. And then I guess maybe where I come in, it's like, I can't help but think back, like, man, you can take a special attack. Like, oh my God, shit happens. Like, I think some people have such an expectation that this raid should be perfect and flawless with 0 damage, which is crazy when there was a time where nobody was doing these like things to avoid the damage. You were just eating everything. But what I do like about it, and also I find the raid to be like not as fun now because like it's just so easy. Like, when everyone's doing it right, like there's no damage. You're not even praying if you're running the head. You keep your prayers off and you just run back and forth. You don't take any damage. You just turn your brain off. So I like that about it, but I also don't always like that about it because it just feels less fun than I remember it being. That being said, I still love the raid because what I love about it is it's Saturday night and maybe you're chilling with your friends, you're having some drinks or whatever it is, you're staying up late, you just want to hang out and chill. It's such a great boss for just like turning up the difficulty and knowing that the fight's going to be a bit longer, but you're just going to be chilling. Like, you don't really have to worry too much because, yeah, you guys got to figure it out. You're not going to, like, there's a way to avoid so much damage. So it becomes like the raid where you just kind of kick back and relax a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm super interested in this. Like, I mean, it's just interesting because, yeah, it sounds like it almost comes down to how different me and you are, like, as people, personality wise, because you like the chaos and I like the order. And so I think I enjoy Chambers a lot more now than I probably would have, because it is like this kind of segmented thing where you do this and then you do this and everything, if you do it right, makes sense. Whereas you, the person who puts Aerial Assault on in a TOA with 8 people, you just want everything to just be the running around with like a chicken with your head cut off. Like that enhances the fun for you. And I can see how as that gets stripped away and it becomes this very strict meta of this is where you stand at this point, that would become less fun.
But luckily, like, we do have other raids, so I'm glad that this has that vibe going for it, which is unique to Chambers versus the other two. So I guess I'm going to ask you 2 questions, but the first one is this a major, are you smashing the entire chamber in or passing?
First off, I don't have a choice. I have got to get the decks. So I will be sending this whether I like it or not. But the good news is I have really enjoyed learning it. And I'm having a great time learning it. The worst part of the raid is getting it started, which is the true for pretty much any group content in this game. Just getting people there, making it happen. Same with a lot of things in the game and in life. Just trying to organize adults to be at the same place at the same time is one of the most difficult things to do. As I'm learning more about the rooms themselves, once I'm actually able to participate in the crab room, those kind of things, and the Ulm fight, once I can do every role, once I'm the one learning how to mage skip and I can like be that valuable piece of my team, like those are goals I have. And yeah, I'm learning more every time I do it and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I can't wait till I maybe way down the line start looking down the barrel of soloing it, so I don't have to have friends anymore.
Soloing is funny. So Deegan, my brother, he doesn't play anymore, but he was learning raids Chambers before I did, and he told me the way to learn it is by soloing it. So I did. He said, solo your first 20, which is what I did. I soloed my first 20 raids. Never do that. That's such a bad idea because first off, nobody knew the whole running the head thing. So you're just tanking everything. You're just suicide supplies and you dealt with everything in there. But the whole experience about it sucked. The first raid I ever ran took me over 3 hours to do, and I never even finished Ulm, because what happens is if you die too much, we didn't really talk about this, but the raid is very forgiving, which is nice. It's my favorite raid. I talked about it being the chillest. If you die, you can die 1,000 times. The only difference is like eventually the percentage of your team getting the unique starts going down. But yeah, you can die and just keep going. So I was trying to brute force it by dying 100 times and trying to kill Ulm, but I had 0 points, 0% chance at a unique, and it's like 3.5 hours in, and I'm like, I don't want to farm anymore. I'm done. I'll try it again later. So yeah, don't solo it, but you can solo it. I've done it on my main now, where I like don't even run the head, and I just solo it, and I just tank everything. And yeah, I've done a few. I was able to get through a few of them. Sorry, didn't you say it's a full-on smash?
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's a big smash for me too. I know I said some negative things about it, but it's still a fantastic piece of content. It's a great raid, and it being the first raid they ever released is like pretty impressive. That's very cool. Now, if you have to, I don't want to hear what the other ones are right yet. We'll do that maybe once we get there. But we have 3 raids. What would you rate this raid? Like, is it your number 1, 2, or 3? And we'll keep the other 2 as secret.
It's number 2, and I think the other 2 are obvious.
Okay. This one would be, number 3 for me, I think.
Just to give it its fair day, I have at least 150 KC in each of the other raids, and I have 25 KC in this one. So a lot of the things that annoy me about my mysterious number 3 pick were not annoying in the first 25 KC. So that's my ranking for where I'm at right now. But it could change as I get more used to this one, and some of the little things start to annoy me more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Yeah, that's great. And guys, anyone listening, I want to hear. Tell us what you love or hate about Chambers. Like, what's your experience with it? Have you done Chambers? And like, what number is it for you? Maybe you can tell us all three if you want, but we won't talk about the other ones. But is this your number 3, your number 1, or your number 2? I want to know. Some people love how, like, the breaking the fight mechanic. I remember talking to someone who just loves playing it. It feels like a rhythm game, is what they would say. Chambers feels like a rhythm. You're playing Guitar Hero.
Yeah, I hear that a lot with Ulm for sure.
Trey, anything else before we take a break? And then I don't know, I think there's some comments came in. We can go through those and all that fun stuff.
No, let's look at it.
Okay, we'll be right back. All right, we're going to take a quick break and head on over to the Grand Exchange. And this is a segment where basically talk about, if you have been asking yourself, how can I support this show? This is the segment for it. You can head on over to patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast to support there. And of course, special shout out to our top tier supporters, Yulfi, Ferric, DeSasquatch, Flarch, and Spleemo. Thank y'all so much for your continued support. But of course, if you don't want to use Patreon, you can also head on over to Discord and boost our server. I guess that's one way to support. Discord.gg/wilderness. So thank you, Gator Dick, Coda, Myzix, Omens, and Teds. Thank you guys so much for the support. All right, let's get back. All right, guys, we are back. Of course, if you want to write in, tell us your thoughts about any of the bosses that we've done. There's a few ways you can do that. It's TheWildernessPodcast@gmail.com. It's joining the Discord, discord.gg/wilderness. Okay, don't mix it up with the old one. Or you can people are leaving comments on Spotify, which is awesome. If you're listening on Spotify, leave a comment. Now, if you're listening to an episode and you're like, oh my gosh, I left a message and they didn't read it on the next episode, our recording and editing schedules are like very different. So sometimes we record 2 episodes and then we're still editing the first one that came before. So we will read all of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Merry Christmas to everyone out there.
Yeah. Trey, I think we got some fun, some goodies on Spotify. You want to read those?
Yeah. So obviously there's a few of these that are just saying nice things, and I'm very grateful for those. Jacob Doyle says, listening to this podcast and slapping around Muspa at work has become my favorite pastime. I'd like to know what your job is that you're able to do Muspa at work. I'm jealous. Mike Clemens says, Release the Kraken did not come from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's from the 1981 movie Clash of the Titans, when Zeus orders Poseidon to release the Titan. It was also repeated in the 2010 remake, but that is a remake that should never have been made. The first one was perfect. No, it's a classic. Yeah, Release the Kraken. And I think in the 2010 one, he was referring to, I think Liam Neeson said it. So that also kind of pushed it into even more of the cultural zeitgeist, which I think, yeah, it's one of those things. It's very easy to conflate because Clash of the Titans did it first, but yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then that remake really made it popular. But
you know what? We need more like Greek mythology movies. I feel like there's not really that much out there.
It's just one of those like subgenres that every time they do it, it's bad. And so then they just stop doing it.
I like there was one, what's the one where the dude gets this like light bow and he's like a demigod? Oh, which one is it?
It's not ringing a bell.
He's got like the light bow and he's like this normal dude, but it turns out he's actually a demigod. Like his mom was a god. And then he's fighting
you're talking about Percy Jackson?
No, Percy Jackson? No, it's like...
Oh.
Hold on, it might be Clash of the Titans. This is Clash of the Titans to the remake. That's no, which one is it?
Are you referring?
It's gonna bug me. He has like a light bow, and then there's a scene where like the Zeus is telling them like the gods can never intervene, and then there's like a fight going on where I think it looks like the dude's gonna die. So then some of the gods shoot down to Earth or whatever, and they like help out for a second, and then Zeus shows up and he's all pissed off and he kills his like kids because he's like, you're not supposed to interfere with like men, right? Is that ringing a bell?
Nothing for me.
Oh, that's gonna bother me. I'm gonna have to look.
All right, I'm gonna keep moving, but we can come back to it if you find it out. Spartan6924 says, love the series. One of my favorite OSRS podcast series. Please write back in if it's one of your favorite series after we have an episode with just one boss for the entire episode.
Sorry.
What is this name? Bale SW 1995. Okay, so this is going back to our green and red flag segment that we had. RuneScape green flag. Do they close the fence gates in pest control? It's objectively the right thing to do and everyone knows this. However, there is no benefit to the individual doing so. It doesn't grant XP, GP, or pest points. The true litmus test.
It's the shopping cart test in RuneScape, right? Have you heard of that one?
Is that like putting your shopping cart back?
Yeah, because you can so easily do it, but you could also not do it and nobody would know. And they have
I think that's a great litmus test, as they say, because it's one of those things that helps everybody out, but doesn't give you any credit, doesn't really help you at all. Besides it makes it more likely that you're going to get your pest control points. But yeah, I mean, if somebody does that, it means that they truly believe that like other people's needs can supersede their own. So I think that's a great response for the green flag.
That's beautiful.
Like So Smooth says 4 bosses per episode isn't a whole lot, but then again, I wouldn't want the depth or breadth of discussion per boss to drop one bit. Oh, buddy, wait for this one that's about to come out.
Backtrack that statement.
So I guess the only solution would be to simply release 5-hour episodes. So easy, you guys got this. Yeah. We'll get on that. Cody says, heavily enjoying the Smash or Pass episodes. Could listen to y'all for hours. Thanks for the enjoyable content that gets through my workday. Thank you very much. And then Kajigger says, great to see you guys uploading more regularly. Love the series. OSRS jank lore. Kraken was actually supposed to have mechanics and more defense stats, but they messed it up on release, so he doesn't do any of them.
Of course. That's the most old school RuneScape thing. This game, I tell you.
I hope we get the what was intended Kraken as a sailing boss. Kind of, I believe, what we talked about when we talked about Kraken. But yeah, those are the comments from our most recent episode. So yeah, thank you guys so much for leaving comments. I know I speed through the nice ones, but on the inside, those ones are my favorite. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen if the people turn on us and they refuse to accept one boss in an episode. So we'll do our best.
It's been like 6 years. And we're still doing the Smash or Pass, but we're doing like every NPC in RuneScape. Yeah, thanks guys for those comments. I love comments, and of course, if you guys want to leave a voice call message, there's a speak pipe link. You can do that below, but I always love reading the messages and feedback too. If you're like listening, you can definitely tell us to be like, okay, one raid is like a little bit much.
You want to really think about it, we talked about like 20 bosses today.
There's things we didn't even touch on, like the music, the music everywhere, and that whole raid is pretty good. Listen to it all. It's
if we were
wonderful.
approaching this as it was, if we had intended this, but yeah, if it was like all about Chambers of Xeric, there's so many other aspects to it that could be talked about. I mean, it's one of the like cornerstones of the game. There's a lot to say.
Yeah. Oh, and did you know that the twisted bow is made out of like a nerve or something, or a piece of like something from Ohm? You kill it and you're able to pull out like the string is like something. It's like an eyelash.
I do have one last minute thing to say in relation to that, because I obviously I don't know the lore for any of this stuff, and you were talking about, like, you kept talking when you're describing the demi bosses about how they like were infected by these crystals and stuff. And it's really surprising, knowing that lore, that none of the rewards from the chest are like crystal related.
Yeah, that's interesting, eh? It's
all about the power of these crystals.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like corrupts them, and like you have I'm trying to think. Yeah, it has to do with like the dark relics and stuff, which is like the blood altar and the soul altar on Zay. Like those have to do with the crystals and stuff. I don't know.
Huh. Oh well.
There's a Halloween event that they did called Chambers of Xeric. That was kind of fun.
Really?
Yeah. I can't really remember what it was, but I remember thinking it was pretty silly. I guess the song of the week has to be Fire in the Deep, which is the song you would listen to while fighting. Oh, it's right before Great Olm. Actually, we don't want to do that. Let's do the fight of Olm. What would that be? Oh, it is. Sorry, it is Fire in the Deep. That is right. Okay. Yeah, we'll listen to that song. It's a good song. It's a really good song. It's very crystally. When you listen to it, think of crystals. It sounds very crystally. Bye, everybody.
Bye.